All right. So I think we've talked a little bit about the structure, again, pun intended, of things that we really need to do short term. We know, obviously, when you think about IT and you think about the technology, there's all different types of companies, shapes and sizes, verticals, industries. And I know the Structured works with a lot of those different folks. I'm just wondering, are there any specific industry segments you think that are struggling more than others right now? And, do you see the struggles as short term, or are you really seeing them as like, this is a fundamental shift in how we all need to think about business moving forward into, right now and into 2021? Maybe we'll start with Don, since he's been the center of my screen.
Yeah, so I think if we think about the turbulence of the last few months, how it's, and it's actually only been a few months, but if we think about, we're always thinking long term versus short term. What do we have to get done right away? What do we need to be thinking about for next year? But if we step back a little bit, just even from the past few months, that nobody really knows what long term really means anymore. We've seen this trend coming, the work from home. People want more free time. They want more time, unstructured time to work on their own and get things done.
Not Cam. Cam doesn't want unstructured time, just for the record.
No. Well, he's a one-off, I guess. So. But I think for the most of us, a lot of us can feel more efficient. We've already talked about that a little bit. More efficient. Not spending time in traffic. If anybody who lives in any of those large metro areas knows what I'm talking about. You spent the time on the road where you just feel unproductive in your car. So, I think we can draw something out of this. We can actually look at efficiencies and look at being more effective long term. So those may be some things to focus on.
Cheryl, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Long term, what does that mean anymore? I see some struggles in our customers in healthcare, for example. There was a lot of response to the initial COVID outbreak of having to set up temporary units in order to handle the patient influx into hospitals and clinics, which involved setting up technology to allow them to complete their jobs and diagnose patients. Well, as the patient load started to decrease, now we're seeing a lot of those folks start to take those temporary units back down. And as things start to open back up in the communities, patient loads are going back up. We're hearing in Central Washington here, we're having a lot of struggles with them hitting capacity and starting to figure out what they're going to do with these patients, and now standing back up temporary units that were originally temporary and torn down. So there's a struggle with temporary versus long term. What is that fundamental shift, as you said? And so I think that in itself is the struggle, is determining what is here for the short term and how do we respond to the long term as these things kind of flux in patient loads.
I agree with that. The winding up and down thing is something I think we're going to be seeing a lot of over the coming, months and potentially years, right? Bill, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, something kind of near and dear to my heart, and I think is, fraught with peril right now is the education landscape. All school districts, higher ed organizations are kind of struggling with what the future of education looks like. And this absolutely fits into the long-term versus short-term conversation. Everybody wants to get, I think, kids back in the classroom to some degree, but do it safely, securely, in a smart manner. So I think that, certainly right now is the time to be thinking really strategically as a technology department within any education institution about, what both paths look like. What does the future of remote learning and the future of in-classroom learning look like, so that they are prepared to move in either direction. I think this landscape is going to change rapidly. Many schools that I've already talked to in our local area have already announced, distance learning through November, December, January type timeframes. As we know in education, 2 or 3 months goes by really fast. And if kind of, at a state, county, whatever level, they decide to open up those classrooms, those departments and teams are going to have a lot of work to do to be ready for what the contact tracing needs, the access needs, the technology infrastructure needs are going to be to support that. So I really encourage kind of technology departments right now to be planning for and spending as much time as they can while students are working or learning remotely to, build out and prepare anything they can to support in classroom learning. Now's the time to do it.
What if schools don't go back?
It's that becomes a really challenging question around, equity, access, devices, all of those things that are needed. We've seen schools stand up, hotspots in parking lots to allow students that don't have internet access at home to come in and learn. Anecdotally, my school district locally, I'm on the technology board for, we have about 2,000 devices that were handed out in April. Almost 600 of those devices have either not come back broken, or come back unusable at this point. And so, the school's facing a shortfall of 20% of their devices or so that they need to get replaced in the next, 3 weeks here to get redistributed to students so that we can start our remote learning initiatives. So again, unexpected budgets in a time when schools are having their budgets slashed. Again, build those contingency plans out, build those budgets out, get the planning done now so that you have everything ready no matter what we face over the next few months.